Hello, nerds! Thank you for watching Generally Nerdy. This is your Weekend Nerdom Music Edition for the week of March 5th, 2018. Yeah, that's right, March 5th, not March 4th. March 4th is a band. This is the music episode, so I can understand your confusion. But March 5th is the Monday that we're talking about for this week. Anyway, this week in music news, I feel like I'm interested in the Warped Tour one more time, which is appropriate because it's only going to be one more time.
Quiet on the set, rolling.
Hi, I am Bitsy Telek.
Hey, I'm Hale Appleman.
I'm Walter Kane.
I'm Rene Aubergenois. Odo on Deep Space Nine.
Michael Dorn, Lieutenant Commander Worf, Star Trek The Next Generation.
Come and see me and hear me and talk to me and listen to me talk about myself.
Hey man, this is Kevin Smith, often considered generally nerdy, and you are listening to what is often considered generally nerdy.
On Generally Nerdy.
You're listening to
Generally Nerdy.
Generally Nerdy.
Generally Nerdy.
Before we get into the news, let's jump into the sponsor for this episode. This episode has been brought to you by the Yay Sports Score a Goal Unit Basket Thing shirt. It's a shirt that says, I know there's a sporting event on television, but who cares? There's more important things to do with your life than worry about which Neanderthal is touching which other Neanderthal's balls. It's the Yay Sports Score a Goal Unit Basket Thing. Front looks like this, the back looks like this, and you can get yours at teespring.com/store/generallynerdy. It's the only place to get your Yay Sports shirt. Again, that's teespring.com/stores/generallynerdy is the only place to get your Yay Sports shirts. Now, let's kick on over to the news, shall we? Alright, so we have the Warped Tour stuff to talk about and then some new music to talk about, so let's jump into Warped Tour. They just announced, like today or yesterday, they just announced their lineup for the tour. For those of you that don't remember, this is the last proper Warped Tour. The 25-year milestone is next year. So there are going to be a couple of Warped Tour dates, but it's going to be like a festival instead of the actual proper tour, just because logistics. It's too expensive for them to do it anymore. But we're going to go over some highlights from this, and we're going in the order that they're listed on each stage and so on and so forth. So for those of you playing the home game, the first main stage is called the Journey's Left Shoe Stage, and the noteworthy names on this one are 303. They're a local Colorado act, but they haven't really done a whole lot. And something that you're going to notice a lot about these bands is some of these bands kind of have fallen out of the conversation, whether or not they're still putting out music. Some of them aren't. Some of them are just touring on the albums they put out years ago. Some of them, I feel like, were broken up for a while and are now back together for, not very likely for the Warped Tour, but for other things, and they just happen to be like, we're doing a reunion deal, let's jump on Warped Tour too. There's a couple of those bands. But so 303 is one of the ones that I don't believe they've done any new music since like 2008, 2009, something like that. 303, these guys. 303, yeah, those guys. Or backwards rather, 303 or whatever. Alright, so I feel like I want to go to this year's Warped Tour. It's appropriate because I've gone to quite a few back in the day. And this is the final one, so it makes sense. But there's the next band we're talking about is Real Big Fish. I love Real Big Fish. Love them. They're worth the price of admission all on their own. So the other bands that we're listing are bonuses as far as I'm concerned. Like I freaking love Real Big Fish. They can do no wrong. They put out an album, I think it was about 5 years ago now. So maybe they're working on new stuff. I haven't seen any announcements from them. That's not to say they're not doing anything though, but they're going on tour, on the Warped Tour, and I want to go. Next is a band I'm kind of only a passive listener. I wouldn't even call myself much of a fan necessarily. It's Asking Alexandria. They have a very interesting sound and a very interesting aesthetic that I would be interested to see on stage. I wouldn't necessarily go if they were the headliner, but as long as they're in conjunction with another band, especially Real Big Fish, like, yeah, absolutely. I'm interested to see that. Beartooth kind of falls into that category too. I'm familiar with them in passing, not a fan by any means necessary, but because familiar with them, I do like to see how a band goes from that studio sound to a live performance. Bowling for Soup is also on this stage. Bowling for Soup is pop punk. Not a huge pop punk fan. I don't know if you kind of caught on to that. We don't really talk about it much. The Bowling for Soup, though, is one of the few exceptions. Not that I necessarily am a fan or that I listen to them extensively. I just appreciate them because of their wit. I feel like they were a very clever pop punk band, and they pulled it off pretty well, so I would be willing to see them live. The next band, though, is Sum 41, and I dig Sum 41. They started off as really mediocre pop punk, and as they progressed, they got heavier and heavier. Not necessarily like hardcore punk, but legit skate punk and crust punk-ish. I would definitely qualify them into those categories. So it would be super stoked to see Sum 41 live. The next stage, though, is the Right Foot stage, Journey's Right Foot stage. Issues is a band I listened to for about 10 seconds. They're kind of like a new metalcore kind of hybrid style. Would be interested again to see how they produce that live. Simple Plan is another pop punk crap. I have no desire to see Simple Plan. I'm not gonna lie. All Time Low is another one of those, falling in reverse. The headliner on the Right Foot stage, though, is Less Than Jake. More fantastic freaking ska from back in the day, and they broke up. I think they're doing a reunion aside from Warped Tour, so the promoters for Warped Tour talked them into joining the tour as well. It's how I kind of imagine, or they're not the headliners, rather. They're two back from the headliner. Still, it's Less Than Jake. They should be the headliner. Because in front of them is The Used and Taking Back Sunday. Taking Back Sunday I absolutely cannot stand. The Used, Burt McCracken, there's a little bit of interest to see those guys live. I would never pay to see them specifically, but again, in conjunction with other bands that I actually like, I'll give them a shot. Next, we're moving stages. We're going to the first secondary stage. It's called the Mutant Red Dawn stage. So Mutant is a soda, is Monster soda. The Ice Nine Kills is on this stage. Ice Nine Kills is a band I've only gotten into kind of recently. They're kind of hipster hardcore. Not horrible though. So, and they do a cover. They're on one of those Punk Goes Pop records, and I dig their cover of whatever song it was. I don't remember. But the next bit we're talking about is interesting for a different reason. The group, it's not even a band. It's a rap group. Twisted. I do not understand why Twisted or ICP, because they're affiliated with ICP. They're on ICP's record label, Psychopathic Records. How does an act like this get on the Warped Tour bill? Like, yes, I understand they have a draw with a subsect of the culture. I understand that they kinda sorta sell records. They don't appeal to the kind of audience, though, that Warped Tour directs to. Like, I understand when an actual hip hop group gets up, when they had Outkast, when they did, I believe Snoop Dogg did it. I'm fairly certain Ice Cube has been on Warped Tour. Like, those make sense because they've been around so long, or they're so popular, they have such a broad appeal. That makes more sense to me than some crappy shock rap, horror rap. I don't even know what you call that crap. But Yeah, Twisted doesn't make sense to me. We're going over to the next stage. It's the Monster White Lightning stage. This is the stage that if I actually land tickets for the Warped Tour, I will probably spend most of my time standing in front of. They have Every Time I Die, which is a band I would like to see open up for a better band. I'm not a huge Every Time I Die fan, but they're one of those bands that I feel like hasn't really done a whole lot recently, and then the opportunity to do the last Warped Tour came up, and they're like, yeah, we'll do something. Sounds like fun. Motionless in White, I have a passive listening experience with Motionless in White. I would definitely love to see them live. I know they are notorious for their live antics, much along the same lines of bands that I listened to when I was in high school. So interested to see them live for sure. The next two bands, and we're probably going to go through all of the last bands on this stage. Necrogoblicon is a band that I recently got into, like really recently, and their sound, we'll talk about their sound in a minute, but they're very interesting. Their whole shtick, I really want to see how they do that stuff live. If they do that stuff live, like from their music videos and stuff. Their lead singer is a goblin, so dresses up in a goblin costume. So very interested to see them live. Unearth is a band, if you are into metalcore, if you like that subgenre of the heavy stuff, Unearth is a band you need to be familiar with, because they put out one of, if not the greatest metalcore records. It's a record called 3, and then there's a subtitle to it that I don't remember, but it's incredible. It is so good. And it's like genre defining. If you don't know what metalcore is, check out that record. Next is August Burns Red, a band that I very recently saw. They were on tour with Protest the Hero, who's one of my top 5 all-time favorite bands. August Burns Red is fantastic, always brutal, always super, super heavy, just incredible. And they're Christians, like, they're super clean, so theoretically you could play them around your parents and you know, people who don't like the curse words. I don't know who Knocked Loose is, so we're not talking about them, but Underoath is another one of those bands that, like, I was never really into before. We talked about them last week though, and their new record, at least the new song from the new record, sounds like they're going in a direction that I'm very interested to listen to. This sounds like they're going heavy, man. It sounds like they're giving up their kind of hipster screamo-ish bits, and they're just going straight into the metalcore stuff. So definitely excited about that. Warped Tour in general this year. We're not going to go over the last stage because I don't know any of those bands, because I'm old or because they suck. One of the two. But let me know, guys. Are you going to Warped Tour? And if so, what band are you most excited to see on this bill? And that's not all the bands. Like I said, I cherry-picked the ones that I'm interested in. There is at least 3 times more bands than that. Because it's Warped Tour. There's always a million bands at Warped Tour. But so, Warped Tour stuff aside, we're talking about a bunch of new music. First up on new music, we're talking about Necrogoblicon. Seems like a good segue. They just put out a new track called The Skin Thief. The release video, it's just audio put to the artwork and then the title of the song. It's just that setup. But you can listen to the song if you follow the link in the description. It's called, again, The Skin Thief. Now, their sound is black metal-ish, almost grindcore-ish. Like, their vocalist has that raspy kind of vocal. The Goblin, whatever his name is, has that kind of raspy black metal vocals, which is interesting. It makes sense if you think of him as a goblin. That would be how I would imagine a goblin would sing. But then, like, instrumentally, they have like this grindy kind of blast beats, and their production is almost black metal-y, where everything's kind of toned down but still super fast and heavy. But yeah, very interesting, very, very, very shticky, kind of gimmicky band. but it works for them. Their sound is unique for sure. So again, link in the description to their new track. Next new song, though, we're going to get lighter and lighter as we go with this new music. Next new song is from Godsmack. I didn't even know these guys were still putting out music. Apparently, they're putting out a record called When Legends Rise. And let's pause for a moment on that. You're not Sully and company. You're not Legends. I'm sorry. You had a good record, followed up by a mediocre record, followed up by a lot of crap. You're not Legends. You paved the way for Nickelback, in a way. You paved the way for Five Finger Death Punch, probably a little more directly. That doesn't make you legendary. That, in a lot of people's books, makes you part of the problem. But, so that's, there's that. It's also kind of like when bands a band writes a song called Forever, and then they break up 6 weeks later, that kind of thing. I feel like that's in the same ballpark as calling yourself Legends. But the new song that they just released, and you can see link in the description to that, is called Bulletproof. And so the thing about Godsmack, they made the same record probably 4 or 5 times in a row. And then they started to kind of branch off a little bit, but for the most part, they still follow that primary songwriting formula, which a lot of bands do. I can't necessarily fault them for that. But as they progressed, instead of instead of challenging themselves more as musicians, they started to water down their sound. And now they're so watered down, it's like if the old Godsmack and Evanescence had a child, and that child really liked to listen to Nickelback. That's kind of what this song is. It's not good. It's not bad, but that's the problem, right? Because you can see all of the parts coming before they happen. Oh, here's the chorus, here's the verse, there's a bridge, here comes the guitar solo. All of that stuff is telegraphed. And the mix is just really over compressed and then really subtle. Like Sully's vocals sit on top of it very nicely, but when you're a hard rock band who at one time could arguably be called a metal band, they were on Ozfest at least once. I don't know, this song is just super disappointing for a band that at one point had great potential. But we're giving too much airtime to them, and we're moving on to our last bit of news. Like I said, we're getting lighter and lighter with each one, and this last bit of new music is from Jack White. It's called Over and Over and Over. It's the 5th new track that he's released off of his new record, Boarding House Reach. Record will be out on March 23rd. Jack White is on tour right now. If you don't already have tickets, you probably won't get tickets because everything is selling out in minutes. I couldn't even get tickets to the Colorado show. I'm going out to Salt Lake to see Jack White. I really like going out to Salt Lake, so I'm totally cool with that. But that's just kind of an idea of what's going on with Jack White. I'm pretty sure... Yeah, by the time I go see him, this record will be out, so we'll know a lot more. But so far, most of the tunes have been really, really good. This tune, I'm torn on. The instrumentation is good. It's definitely not his best work yet, but the vocals feel lacking. When he originally was talking about this record before he had released any music, he said that there was a song on the record that he envisioned a Jay-Z collaboration with. This is that song, and it didn't happen. There's no actual Jay-Z collaboration. I don't know if it was because he was just thinking out loud and said, that's kind of the feel I'm going for, or if it was he was trying to get Jay-Z to do a guest vocal and for whatever reason couldn't. That I cannot speak to, but... it feels like it's missing something, and maybe that's what it was. Maybe the Jay-Z vocal was what is missing from this track. But I am not the be-all, end-all of the music industry. Let's have a discussion about this or any of the other stuff we've talked about in this video. Definitely, let's talk about it in the comments. And that is where I'm going to end this week's episode. Oh yeah. I almost forgot. We have a contest going so that you can win one of these t-shirts. We're giving away 2 of the t-shirts, and if you check the description below, then you can see all of the contest rules and how you can enter. There are multiple ways to enter, and you can enter multiple times, so you can potentially win one of these. Really awesome. I'm really excited about this partnership with the guys over at Punishshirt. Punishshirt.com is the website, and they have more than just my stuff, I promise. They have some really funny stuff over there. Definitely check out their website, Punishshirt.com. Check out the description down below so that you can see how to enter this contest. So in about a month, you could be rocking one of these generally nerdy shirts. It's they took it a little literal with the name, Generally Nerdy. Get it? It's a kind of a verbal pun, or visual pun rather. Yeah, again, they have some great stuff over there. Check out their website. Go to the generallynerdy.net to also find the ways to enter, and good luck, guys. What did I miss, guys? What should we talk about next week? Let me know in the comments down below. If, though, you want to go deeper into the conversation, jump over to the website, generallynerdy.net is where you can go to find all of the freebies, all of the social media links. You can go, both of the stores are up there, the Redbubble and the Teespring store are both up on the website, generallynerdy.net. If you want to help this conversation just a little bit more, then jump over to the Patreon, patreon.com/generallynerdy. You can jump on for just $1 a month. If you are new to the channel, though, click that subscribe button. If you like this episode, click that like button. If you are running behind on your nerd news and you want to catch up, click or tap that box right there to the left of my face to do that. But before you go, please always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.